class. Today we are going to be discussing 3 different methods for critiquing, analyzing, and personally responding to pieces of literature. We've read so many great novels in class this year, and I can't wait to show you different ways to further analyze and respond to them. So today, we're going to be starting off with the reader response lens, followed by the feminist lens, and ending with the biographical lens. Now, these all might seem confusing and new right now, but I promise at the end of this video you will be able to define them and know different ways to apply them to your own pieces of writing and responses. To start, let's discuss the reader response lens. The reader response lens, generally speaking, is all about how you personally respond to a text. This lens throws out the window author's intent and puts at the forefront how the reader feels about the text. For example, let's think about the book we've just read, Unwind. If we were to respond to this with a reader response lens, some of the questions we may ask ourselves are, how do we feel about the main character's actions in the novel? Do we agree with them, or do we disagree with them? Do we personally relate to the main character, or not to relate? And more importantly, how do the answers to these questions influence our own personal readings to a text? This is a question you must keep in mind when responding with this lens, as it will help you answer these questions and conclude how this really can influence your understanding of a specific text. Additionally, we must not forget that the author's intent, in this instance, doesn't really matter when you are responding. Although the author may want you to feel a certain way when you are reading a text or evoke a certain emotion, reader's response is all about how you feel regardless of that. How do you personally feel about a text, based on your own experiences, your own readings, and your own relations to the characters? Now that we've discussed reader response, we're going to talk about the feminist lens. The feminist lens is all about how women are written about in a book, viewed in a book, viewed in society, etc. When viewing books this way, we may pull out themes like patriarchy, women's roles, sexuality, and things of that nature. So for example, when viewing a text like The Yellow Wallpaper, a short story we read last semester, we may analyze it through a feminist lens. There are multiple instances that may encourage and lead us to do so. So when viewing the main character, the woman, we may see that she doesn't have a name in the story. Yes, she's referred to as John's wife, and perhaps the narrator in a couple instances, but she never has a specific name. Now, when viewing this characteristic of the novel through a feminist lens, we may think, why did the author choose not to give her a name? Was it to show that she lived in a patriarchal household where her opinions and views didn't really matter? Now, this may just be one reading through the feminist lens. There are various others you can use when viewing the short story through this lens. This is just one example of a way to apply the feminist lens. So when applying the feminist lens, you can keep in mind various things that may help you. Is there hints of patriarchy in this novel? How are the women's roles viewed? How do women view themselves? How is sexuality viewed? Etc. Now that we've discussed the feminist lens, we're going to talk about the biographical lens, Biographical like biography. So I'm going to tell you a personal experience to start. Well, biographical lens is all about the author's history and how that can influence the text. The author's real history, not something that's made up for the novel, but the actual experiences and life of the author. So recently I read the book Looking for Alaska, and for fun I decided to research some facts and the history of John Green, the author. And once I was further into research, I realized a lot of his life and experiences match up with the main character. Where he went to school, his relationships, his parents, etc. And once I had discovered all of this, it really did change how I read the text. To me, personally, it made the text feel more authentic. So, when you're analyzing a piece of literature through the biographical lens, keep in mind, what are the real experiences of the author? What's the author's life like? How do we think the author's life has influenced the writing of his or her text? So when doing this, the ultimate question you may want to ask yourself is, does this make me appreciate the text more, knowing that I know some things about the author, not like it as much? Does this make me see the text in a different light, knowing that the author has lived this experience? Things like that. You want to think how knowing things about the author has shaped your own personal reading of the text. And in some ways, this is the main goal of using all of these lenses. We want to see how the feminist lens, the reader response lens, and the biographical lens influence the text, but also influence our own personal readings of each text. Do we like it more? Do we not like it as much? Things like that. So now that we have covered all three lenses, I want to give you guys the opportunity to show me what you know about them tonight. Recently, we've been reading the book The Great Gatsby, and I want you to pick one of the lenses we have discussed, the reader response lens, the feminist lens, or the biographical lens, to respond to The Great Gatsby. Now, I'm going to leave the length of your response up to you, but I want to be able to see that you've put a valiant effort into your response. I can't wait to read responses tomorrow. See you in class.